So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the 1 Point Safety Show with me, Scott Hartley, and my glorious co-host, who I suppose is going to be in an ecstatic mood, is Scouse Andy. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm very good today, bro.
I thought you might be after Tuesday, but I'm sure we'll
Why?
get into that a little bit later. Just want to quickly say thank you for everyone who subscribed to the podcast and listened. This is our last week's was our second highest ever plays, apart from the first ever one we did, our initial podcast. So thank you for staying with us. We really appreciate it. We know we've got quite a bit of feedback from social media, from Twitter. So thanks for sticking with us for what is now the end of the season. And we're here initially, Scouts, to review the 26-6 win versus the Dallas Cowboys, which neither of us predicted. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't think most of Washington Twitter saw this result coming.
No, I don't think anybody in their right mind would actually have picked us to win. No chance, especially with all the guys out. No chance.
So we finish out with an 8-1 season, and I'll just go through the quick statistics here. So we've got Sam Howell was 11 of 19 for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown. Jared Patterson had 17 carries for 78 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. And then from the receiving core, the highest receiver was 3 receptions for 74, a 24.7 average, and 1 touchdown. That was Terry McLaurin. F.A. Obada had a sack as well, and obviously Jahan Dotson played quite well during this match. What was your thoughts then on the game itself?
It was great to watch. It really was. I mean, there was loads of energy throughout the whole team. I think I was sitting there probably about halfway through the second quarter, thinking, where was this last week?
Yeah.
Where was this kind of energy that like the defense hounding the ball, hitting Dak and not hitting Dak, but also hitting the running back. So they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. Zeke and Pollard, and we had guys out. We had many guys out, and these guys came in and balled out for us. And I'm thinking,
a lot of second and third stringers in there, wasn't there? Really? So
I mean, Danny Johnson
really
was in, played great. You know, you had the other dude as well, the special teams guy who was all pro. What's his name? Hudson.
Jeremy Reeves.
Reeves, that's the one.
Reeves. Kaliki Hudson did play, and he had a great game
as well.
Great game.
So, all these guys. Now you're thinking, well, is it on Del Rio? Thinking, well, should these guys have been given a shot earlier in the season? You know what I mean? So
it does beg that question, doesn't it?
Because you're thinking, well, these guys showed out against a Dallas team who were trying. It wasn't like this Dallas fifth stringers. It was the big boys. We hadn't beaten Dak for 7 years or something like that. That's how bad it is. How bad we are against Dak. And we kicked this fucking ass all over the place. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I did too. I mean, it was one of them games that I can only say that there's been 2 games this season where I've been sat here quite comfortably thinking, yeah, this is in the bag. And the other one was Houston. And this game, I actually thought, there's no way we're going to lose this game. And it was fantastic. I mean, we talked about it before. We talked about Sam Howell's performance at quarterback. There's a lot of reaching and overreaching on social media at the minute. Have we found the answer?
Some of the stuff I've heard.
I mean, I have seen it too. I mean, it's a really small sample size going into the off season, but it fills Sam Howell with confidence moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the whole off season now to go off. A very good performance, a very good debut. He was a Dallas fan. I was a kid. Do you know that?
Yeah. I did see that.
Dallas fan, and he went in his debut, and he did play. He played really well. I know it would have been nicer if Scott Turner actually let him throw the ball more, even if he made more mistakes. Does that make sense? Because I want to see what he can actually do. Now, yes, in the 19 passes he had, pretty well. He made one big error. That was the interception in the end zone. And threw it into triple coverage. No, you don't do that, mate. You throw that away. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you'll learn from that, and that's something you can actually learn from. It wasn't a perfect performance, but it was a very good one.
Yeah, and I think what really encouraged me with that Scouse, that play in particular where he threw the interception, was the fact that it wasn't a case of he didn't let him affect him. It didn't affect him.
Definitely.
He just got straight back on the horse, straight back out again. And then the thing that encouraged me more than everything was the deep ball to Terry down the sideline, where Terry had to physically sprint to reach it. Now, normally, I think me and you were talking on social media offline on our WhatsApp group. You were saying, normally Terry's at 70%, really, and you see him at about 70%, and they have to come back. They have to come back a lot of the time to collect the ball because of obviously Taylor Heineke's arm. And he had to physically motor to get that ball.
He had to open up to get there.
He had to motor to get that.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, that's like I think I read somewhere that's like the longest deep ball completion in like 5 years.
It's the longest in, the next gen stats that the NFL
it's like
do.
60 yards, something
60
like
yards,
that.
yeah. The NFL,
like in
NFL
the air.
do,
I don't mean yak. I mean just in the air. Do you know what I mean?
The NFL do the stats, the next gen stats, and that's the highest ever completion that we've had
from a
yard.
I mean, oh, you mean since next gen's been going
since
on?
Since next gen's been going. So that's about
they're only
about
5 years, aren't they?
Yeah, about 5-6 years.
Yeah. So awesome. I mean, you can tell this guy's got it. I mean, what I loved, I said, is the intangibles, like you mentioned before. The kind of the poise he had in the pocket.
Yeah.
The quick decision making of, I'm going to run when I need to run, and I'm going to stay in the pocket and throw the ball when I need to throw it. And I think that was it. He seemed very kind of like he looked experienced, even though he wasn't. Do you know what I mean? And I think 3-4 years at college does that for you. Actually playing every game.
Especially when he didn't have
over and over again.
Last year in Carolina,
Carolina,
North Carolina, he didn't have any of his stars. His offense.
No, he had nobody.
His offensive line had gone. His running back had gone.
He was the star. He was the guy. Basically it. And what did he get? What did he get? He got 1,400 rushing yards.
Yep.
For a quarterback. That's like some sort of fucking, Lamar Jackson style stuff. You know what I mean?
It is crazy, and and you can seriously tell. I know now why initially people thought he was a first round talent if he'd have come out a year earlier, and you can quite easily.
Well, he had his
that.
weapons, didn't he? He had Diami Brown, and he had two great running backs. I think one was Carter, who plays at the Jets. I can't remember the other dude, but there's another dude as well who's really good. He was killing it in the NFL now as well, and it's kind of. Okay, you lose that. You lose two receivers. I think he lost another receiver. I can't remember that guy's name is either.
But I think he lost a couple of offensive linemen as well.
He lost some linemen as well. Yeah, I think he lost 3 linemen out the 5. It's just like, what are you going to do there? Now he's got no weapons. He's got no running backs, and he's got like a brand new offensive line that's basically just not good enough. Let's face it. And he's like, shit. Okay, well, I can't throw the deep ball too much. What have I got to do? I need to make plays with my legs. Because before last season, he hardly ran. No one really knew that he could run. Yeah. Because he was literally just a pocket passer who could just throw it around the field. But last year, he had to change his whole style. And it was unfortunate, man, because I do feel for him, because he should have been a first-round pick the year before. And that's a hell of a lot more money than what he's getting now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we look at his contract and we think about what he's on just under £900,000 or $900,000 next year, 900 and something $1,000 the year.
Imagine being the first rounder. What would he have been? Even if he was a top 20 pick, say? How much do you reckon that would have been?
3.5 mil first year, probably.
Easily, probably even more than that. And because he's a first rounder, he's going to get more leeway as well to start. But he's fit. Oh, this guy's a 5th rounder. This guy's not good enough. He's got it, man. He just needs to learn. It's going to be hard for him because we mentioned Scott Turner later, but it's going to be hard for him next season because you've got to learn a new offense again. New offensive lineman. I'm hoping we totally revamped that. I'm hoping. But yeah, I mean, for what I've seen from that first game, I could only see a load of positives.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, for me, it was that there was a few things that I wanted to see. And one was, as you said, the poise within the pocket. There was the football, the footwork, sorry. Does he have the intangibles that you can see from a quarterback? And
I mean, some of his footwork was a little bit, some of it was,
and he needs to work on
better
that.
with it. He needs to work on it still. But yeah.
But what you had there was an example of a player that you can use. You can mold him. You can make him into a starting quarterback. Not an issue at all. The arm strength was there. You could see that he from the deep ball that he's.
And see the way he laid the boom. See the way he laid the boom on Diggs.
Yeah. It was great.
I love that.
Not afraid to get in and dig in.
Built like a running back, man. He's built like a running back. But he can throw a ball.
For me, massive positives for Sam Howell. I mean, now we've got to ask the question to you then, Scouse, is do you build around him now? Or what would you in the off-season do?
For me, it's hard, really, because you don't want to leave yourself short at quarterback, just in case Howell does have a meltdown, or But I think personally, what people might think is the perfect combination would be having Howell as the starter and having Heineke back at a reasonable rate as the backup in case Howell messes up, and then Taylor can just come in and do what he normally does. Now that would normally, you think, if I was Ron, you'd think that might be worthwhile. However, Heineke is literally Scott Turner. All he knows is that offense. Doesn't know anything else, and Scott Turner's gone. So that's another thing as well. He's learning a new system too. So you're thinking, okay, maybe he's not the guy you want to keep around. Because on the flip side, if I was Howell, I'd want Heineke gone because the players follow Heineke.
Correct.
And they might not follow Howell if, say, Heineke and Howell have an argument one day or whatever. Then all the players are going towards Thingy, and then Howell's left in the shit.
Plus, the other thing we know this fan base is like that. I mean, you saw it in the Browns game with Carson Wentz, and
I'm not talking about the players, never mind the fans. I'm talking just the players.
But rightly so as well. You saw them chanting for Heineke in the stands, and that the first time Sam Howell's going to throw an interception, are we going to see that again? Do you know what I mean? Is it going to be? And that's why, ideally, Taylor Heineke, props off to him for the last 2.5 years or however long he's been with us, ever since that Bucks game. He's came in, he's done his job, he's worked hard, and he deserves his payoff. He deserves to be paid somewhere else.
He deserves to be. He's a decent backup. He's a good backup. He's not, I won't say he's world class, but he's a good backup to have. He's a guy, he's proven it. He can come in, he can win you 4 or 5 games, especially if your quarterback goes down injured, your main guy. He's perfect for that, to come in that role, that 4-5 streak where you might have, and he'll win you some games. He'll keep you in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to go 2-2, aren't you, if he plays 4 games?
Exactly. What I mean? Yeah. You're going to get at least 2-2, which is normally good enough if your main guy is out and he comes back in. Correct. So, say for example, Miami would be a good place for him because 2 is always injured. You see what I mean? But he's only injured for like 3-4 weeks and he's back again. He'd be the perfect backup for them. Be the perfect backup.
So, what were you saying? I think you dropped some knowledge on me. I don't know if it was the last pod we were on. Or if it was, we were talking, how many quarterbacks starting in the league was it this year? Was it 60?
It ended up being 70.
70. Oh, I thought it was 67 in the high 60s.
It was. And then I think there was a few more starters, obviously. But again, not all from injury. You know what I mean? There was some reasons for backups playing and all that. Like Flacco was playing, which he never plays and stuff like that.
But even so, when you think about that and you have 70 people starting under center for different teams throughout the season, would you say Heineke's in the top half of that? I would probably say, yeah. I think he's in the top 35, maybe 40.
Yeah. So I think that's solid. I think that's a solid estimate.
He's a solid QB2. So I hope he goes out and he gets paid somewhere.
He's going to get 8 to 10 mil of somebody's money.
Yeah, and that's it. You see, we can't afford that. I mean, I don't know if anyone follows Spot Rack on the internet. Have a look at that and see what they're predicting. Obviously, people's off-season money is going to be like. Sometimes I'm a bit weary of that, but I mean, 19.5 million is what they were saying. I mean, he's not getting that, mate. He's not getting that
because he's not a starter. That's starter money. That's low-end starter money. Do you know what I mean? So there's no chance you're going to get it. He's going to get that from someone unless they're going to play him as QB1, which I just can't see. But also that Spot Track, though, it's talking about Slye to being worth 14 mil per year. I mean, come on. He's not worth even half that, to be honest with you, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I know, I get that. Anyone else stand out to you in this game, then?
Oh, there's loads of positives, to be fair. Even the offensive line actually showed up for a little bit as well today.
They did.
Yesterday,
They were going some, weren't they? They were going.
At least they were trying, and at least then, if you give 100% effort every play, as a fan, you shouldn't rip them. You should be like, nah, well, you give it everything you had. When you see lack of effort, that's when people piss me off, and that's what we mentioned last week about Cleveland, because we didn't show up. We didn't fucking show any kind of fight or any kind of spark or nothing, and that's purely because of the Heineke thing we mentioned that last time, and the Wentz thing. But for me, I mean, they all played well. Even the snaps were a little bit better as well from Slye.
Yeah, they were. They were very good.
How look legit. Again, only one game. I get that. I understand. So you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But also you've got, obviously Terry does Terry things. Jahan's definitely coming into his own and become definitely a wide receiver too. Some people I meant early on in the season, even though he was scoring touchdowns, some people were still saying, he's a wide receiver 3. He's not a wide receiver 2. No, he's a wide receiver too. He's proven it this end of this last kind of run into the end of the season. Definitely.
And ideally, in a couple of years, you want it to be 1A, 1B, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's only going to get better. I mean, let's face it, he's already improving. So imagine what it's going to be like next season. Okay, he's got to learn a new offense, new verbiage, like everybody else is going to have to. But if he's a quick learner, he'll be flying. He'll be flying to start the season, and then he'll be hopefully 1B.
Where Schweitzer and David Mayo were our top two on PFFs. Both offense and defense in PFFs, really? Which just amazed me. Kendall Fuller, got to shout him out and say, what a great pick six. The play before, he was very close to bringing that home. He read it. Yeah. And then the following play, exactly the same play, which was just bizarre.
And it was Dak.
No, and it was a pick all in all. I mean, let's look at Dak's stats here. I mean, I've got it written down.
He was awful, mate. He was awful.
14 for 37, 128 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. That does not fill you with confidence.
I think his QBR was like Buddy Wentz's last week, like 38, something like that.
It does not fill you with confidence going into a matchup with Tom Brady, who Brady is 7-0.
I'm loving the performance. I know it's messed us up on the draft order. Like we lost probably 5 spots really because we won.
Yeah.
However, but the way we just hammered them, we just nullified everything that they had. Even CeeDee Lamb was walking off pissed off because Dak wasn't even trying to find him anymore. He just stopped trying to find Lamb, and he's their number 1 receiver. Loved it. And the thing is that now all the questions are going to be put at them now. Dak can't do it. He choker. And it's already in his head. It's already going to be all this. I bet they're getting so much shit in Dallas now by all Dallas fans.
Yeah,
they're going into a playoff game, mate. I tell you, their confidence is like that, and I love it.
2 really good things that made me tickle was, if you're watching the broadcast on Game Pass, you'll have seen this. He threw the interception, Dak, and then straight after the interception, it obviously went to an advertisement break, and it was Dak Prescott advertising beds, talking about getting restful sleep and how on game day it makes him better. I was like, well, you didn't get that sleep that time, Dak, did you?
I think his missus kept them up.
Maybe. And then the second one was the na, hey, goodbye, and everyone was just waving. It was
awesome because seeing all the fans leaving.
It was so good.
You can't beat that. How about them Cowboys?
So good. Exactly.
Love it, mate. Love it.
Exactly.
Do you feel it's worth it? It's worth having a performance like that to lose 5 spots. I know people say, well, it was a meaningless game and all this. For me, I want to beat Dallas every time. Doesn't matter.
I do too. Yeah, it was a damp squib. It was a damp squib week, wasn't it, going into Dallas week? Yeah. But to get that,
but he played like they were going to play in the playoffs. We played like that, and they played like they were finished. Do you know what I mean?
They did.
And that's the highest praise you can give a team, really.
So
just
then
flipping it around like that.
We've had a busy news week, Scouts. And there's only one place to start, really. I mean, Monday was locker clean out day for the team. And then Tuesday, Ron Rivera gave and Martin Mayhew gave what was, I can only describe as a vanilla press conference. I wasn't working.
I don't get that.
I tuned in to watch that, and I wasn't working either. And it was just bizarre. They were talking about
it's really
running the football 2-1, and they were saying that the weather gave us soft tissue injuries, and it was too hot. I mean,
mate, I'm not being funny. I mentioned it I mentioned it in our chat. These have got an actual, indoor actual facility that's actually temperature controlled. So if it is too hot outside, fine, bring him in and keep it cool. Don't get these guys injured for the sake of being too hot and they're getting dehydrated and pulling muscles. Do you know what I mean? It's just basic coaching and management, isn't it? Really, if he can't do that, then that's poor. That's really poor from one.
And then the news broke at, what was it, about 9:30 our time, that Scott Turner has been relieved of his duties.
Yes.
Yes. Moving on in a new direction, and we've been told the new OC is going to be an outside hire from outside of the organisation. I mean, we were all initially thinking,
loved it.
Ken Zampese's probably going to get promoted, but they're looking at bringing someone in from the outside. Now, I don't want to see anyone lose their job. You've got to think realistically.
The thing is, are you good enough?
I know.
Are you good enough? It's like me, for example. I'm a standard guy. I work, in certain healthcare things, and if I kept making mistakes, the same old shit over and over again, like he did, I'd have been fired probably about 3 months into my job. Never mind 3 years, like this dude. So, I don't feel bad from losing his job. He'll find a job somewhere else. Maybe not as a coordinator. Maybe he had to step one down a little bit, or maybe go back to college. Whatever. But he'll get a job, and he's only got paid 10 million as well for the rest of his contract. So it's not like I'm definitely not bleeding my heart for him. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I'd love to get fired and get 10 mil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly where you're coming from. So, what's your thoughts on who you think do you think got any ideas of who the new OC would be, who you would like it to be, and who realistically you think we are going to bring in?
Well, I've seen a lot on Twitter. Eric Bieniemy and these are the offensive coordinators, blah blah blah. Let's face it, right? No offensive coordinator is going to make a lateral move. Byron Leftwich as well. People talking about him. No, he's not going to come here. Why would you come here to do the same job that they're already doing? It's never going to happen. I don't care how much money you throw at these dudes. They're not coming.
I think the only question I've got
the
there
only
is
way you've got to promote.
Yeah, there's 32 teams with 32 offensive coordinators, and only about half of them call plays. So if you are going to come here, you are going to be the play caller. So are you looking at someone who's...
to be fair, what you mean? So you mean like like if Bieniemy came, you mean because obviously Reed does all the play calling. You think that Bieniemy might show up?
Kevin O'Connell was the same. He wasn't a play caller here, so you know what I mean. It was
but he wasn't defensive. But he was never a defensive coordinator, was he?
Yeah, he was offensive coordinator. Yeah,
was he?
With Jay? I thought he
was just the bloody Thingyo guy,
QB coach.
I could be wrong.
I thought he was. I thought he was the OC.
I mean, because O'Connell was like obviously young at that point, and he got he left. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously we had McVay for a bit. He was offensive coordinator for a bit, and then he left. But in general, I mean, I just think those guys are not going to do it, mate. They're not going to come here. You got to think about it as well from their point of view. Why would they make a lateral move? Bieniemy is probably the most protected offensive coordinator in the NFL because Reed is just that damn good. And Bieniemy, I've heard that he causes all sorts of shit with Mahomes and everybody else. And I'm thinking, we don't need that shit. Don't need that coming here. We've already got enough of that. We don't need that. We need a better person.
I've heard Cliff Kingsbury. I've heard all sorts.
Highly unlikely he's going to try and drop down because, end of the day, this is his first time of being fired as a NFL head coach. He's going to be wanting a head coaching job. So unless he's got a head coaching job here, unless Ron gets fired, he's not coming here. So forget about him. Forget about any offensive coordinator that's already in the NFL. You might, if you're lucky, get an offensive coordinator from college. If you're lucky, then that's only if that's their dream to be an NFL head coach eventually. Some of these guys love just being in college. Do you see what I mean? So you might even get those dudes. So for me, you've got to look at guys who are like, like quarterback coaches, assistant offensive coordinator, those guys, where you're actually giving somebody the actual promotion. Otherwise, these guys are not going to show. It's as simple as that. For me, I would go for is Bobby Slowick from the Niners. He was actually with us for a few years as well before, and people don't really know much about him because he was originally just a data analyst type of guy, and then he ended up being on the defensive staff. And then he's on the offensive staff, and then obviously he moved with Shanahan. So this guy's got loads of experience both sides of the ball, and he's not had the chance to be an offensive coordinator. Yeah, I think he could be a really good one if he wanted to come back, of course.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I mean, do you think we end up with a retread from Carolina? I mean, who's the guy?
It better not be me, Mike Shula. No.
Yeah, Mike Shula. That's who I think he'll be.
Yeah, forget these dudes. Ron, he said that it should be somebody really from outside the organization. So for me, I'm still.
That's where it's coming from.
I'm still thinking Shula is still part of the furniture because he's just part of Ron's bloody little tree that he's got. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, it's like no, don't get him. End of the day, he ruined Cam Newton. He got him battered so much. Took the pounding for years, and look at the state of Cam now. Do you know what I mean? So. And that's on him because that's his play calling.
Do you think though that this, because it's a lame duck coach that we've got, and we've got the coaching set up, who probably know realistically it is. They realistically know that they've got a year. This next season, we know because
it's mentality.
It is the season and the sale isn't going to go through before March realistically.
No.
So we know that they're going to bring in most likely someone who they know, who they trust. on a 1-year kind of contract, and that's why I think we do end up with someone like Schuler calling the plays.
Who'd be happy with the 1-year deal, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, for me, I think of it as I just mentioned mentality. If I'm Bobby Slye, or if I'm a whoever, like, you know, these up and coming guys, I'd want that opportunity. Why? Because I can show you how good I am to the new owners that are going to come through. Correct. And at the end of the day, if Ron gets fired, that doesn't mean he has to get fired, because he's not really part of Ron's deal. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I'll take the risk. I believe in my own skill, my own knowledge, and my own thing. So let's go. That's what I would do personally. That'd be my mentality of it. Why would I want to stick here, be a quarterback's coach and he's a passive offensive coach or something like that? It's like a special name they've given Stoic, because basically, you know, he's not
passing game coordinator.
Yeah,
I think he's
that's
called.
right. That's right. Yeah. So it's a weird name, the title he's got, but basically he helps with the passing game, and you know, it's not bad. I mean, look what he's done to Purdy. Do you know what I mean? Purdy's a Mr. 7th round no mark, and he's making him look good. So everyone's going on about Kyle Shanahan, but at the end of the day, Shanahan's a runner. He's a running game specialist. That's what he's good at. So, and Slowick's doing the passing. Do you see what I mean? So, if you've got someone like Sam Howell there, you know, if they hit it off properly, that could be fucking fireworks. That, bro.
It could really be. Good. You're absolutely right. Well, I'm not going to nail my colours.
Some fucking retread, like you mentioned. Probably some fucking disappointing. You know, weapon that we're going to get in. You know what I mean?
At least we can get another Scousey sizzle out, so we'll be happy with that. Yeah, plenty. So don't you worry.
Every week, mate. Every week, something.
The other bit of news that came out today, actually came out this afternoon, was that the Tennessee Titans have asked permission to speak to Chris Harris to look for their defensive coordinator role. Thoughts on that?
Okay.
Now, I know Kyle from the Burgundy's end very, very high on him, and he was saying he's a head coach in the future.
You can tell because of all the, you know, if you obviously us being Skins fans, we watch probably all the little mini videos, the training videos that he put out and all that. And at the start of the season and halfway through, when Kerrigan's like first started hanging around the team, you've seen Harris. He was proper coaching the dudes. Do you know what I mean? He was on the field with them, actually really coaching them way better and way ahead of Ron. Do you know what I mean? And Ron was there, like in the locality of him, and he was there taking lead, taking charge. So for me, I'd be upset if he went. To be fair, I think he's a good coach. I think, yes, of course, you know, we could always play better. You know, there was a few burns and stuff like that, especially early on in the season. But no, the second is pretty solid if it's at full strength. The depth is the problem. But again, that's not Harris's fault. He's just got to deal with what he's got. No, this is his 6 guys or whatever he's got. This is who he's got to manage the best he can with. And I think he's done a good job. I think we just need it's hard, but it's hard now because if Tennessee, because you can't say no. Like if Tennessee comes in and says we'd like to interview him for defensive coordinator, you can't say no. So it's just a legal rule. Like you just can't say no to it. It's just like unless you promote him yourself to defensive coordinator, you can't say no. So unless you're going to get rid of Del Rio, which highly unlikely you are, you got to hope. Basically, you got to hope that he goes in there for interview and balls it up, so he stays. Because otherwise he'll be off. It's not like anybody else. Promotion's promotion, mate. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. You got to feed your family. You know. Yeah. And if Washington aren't going to pay your bills, Tennessee is certainly going to pay bills for you. So
yeah,
you know why?
How much
not?
Do you rate me? It's like McVay. It's like the McVay thing with fucking El douchebag Gruden. You know, those guys. McVay was obviously the next superstar play caller. We know that. But Gruden was actually a good play caller when he was an offensive coordinator, not as a head coach. But what did we do? We made the wrong choice. We kept with Gruden because he was a yes man. He was a yes man to Dan, and he was a yes man to Bruce Allen. So where McVay was probably still coming up and still trying to make himself his own man. So he might have been a bit more like F you. Do you know what I mean? On certain things. So he didn't like that. So he let him go. So we lost a superstar who didn't want to go. I don't think McVay was one of them. It wasn't like a Shanahan where Shanahan was, you know, we disrespected his dad and all the rest of it, and that's why he's pissed off with them and obviously didn't want nothing to do with us. McVay was completely different. Do you know what I mean? So, so we could have had him as our head coach.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of talk.
It's annoying, but
I've seen a lot of talk about McVay this week,
and he's not coming back.
Yeah, saying that he's not staying at LA, which is quite an interesting one.
Yeah,
I mean, he was offered. He was offered 20 million last year to do broadcasting in the booth. So
I thought it was a 100 mil deal, some sort of 100 mil deal.
Yeah, it was 20 mil,
5
20
years.
mil a year, 20 mil a year,
right,
5
okay.
years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of dollar in it. And then the day he's only young, so for him, that's always going to be there for him. Do you know what I mean? No, working in the media. He's only he's not even not even my age. I think he's younger than us.
Yeah, I think
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's like 36. I think something like that.
Yeah.
How young he
is. Ridiculous. Yeah.
But he's feeling the stress of it all. But the thing is, he went all in. There's two ways, isn't there? Normally, there's two ways of building the roster, trying to get yourself to the big games, the playoffs, the Super Bowls, and he's done it one way, and which is obviously just sell the whole farm, sell everything to try and get the most complete team he could, and win Super Bowl, even though we're going to be shocking for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, even. He's done that. But the worst thing for me is that he's done that, and then he's decided, fucking hell, this is getting hard. This is shit when I'm not winning. I'm leaving. And I'm like, wait there a minute, bro. You put the Rams in the fucking absolute shit there. And that for me, I mean, I know, other people have disagreed with me on that, but I think for me, it's a weak mentality that you should stick there when the going gets tough, because obviously they're not going to fire him. No, he's obviously loved there. He won them a Super Bowl recently.
Got a 5-year contract still as well.
He's still got 5 years left.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's just I don't understand. I
think he's through till 2026. I think he's through. So he's got 3 years left of his contract. But
3 years left of his contract. So obviously, if he resigns, obviously he gets no payout because he resigns. If he gets fired, it's different. You know what I mean?
Thing is, if he resigns, though, the team still have the rights to his contract. So someone's going to have to pay for him.
Well, it's like Sean Payton, wasn't it? He retired, technically retired, and obviously Saints are like, well, give us a first rounder for him. We want a first round pick for him. So that's insane as well, personally, for coaches. But
so we've had locker clean out on Monday, and we're obviously going into the free agency, and we have quite a number of free agents here who we believe will not be back on our team. I've seen social media posts from Carson Wentz, social media posts from Taylor Heineke. I don't think either of them are coming back. Daron Payne is a free agent. We've spoke ad nauseum about trying to get him back in the building. I think both me and you are of that opinion that pay the man whatever he wants, get him back in. You don't let elite talent leave this team. And he is elite. Fuller, McCain, Leno, Norwell, Turner, Holcomb, Slye.
Fuller?
It says Fuller's.
He's still got a year left on his deal, hasn't he?
He's got an out this year, though. We've got an out this
so we
year.
could cut him for like less. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Holcomb's a free agent. Slye's a free agent. Bostic's a free agent. And so is McKissick. And we have an out on Logan Thomas as well. So of them, quite an exhaustive list I've gone through there. Any of them that you'd want to see back, or that you think, do you know what, or is it a total restart?
It's all about the Price is Right. At the end of the day, it's the Price is Right. It's like anything. You got a certain amount of money you can spend. You don't really want to spend it on those dudes because at the end of the day, they've proven that they are mediocre. We are at this moment we've got great talent but mediocre coaching, and that's the reason why we are. But we also got lack of depth, and again, that is roster building. So that's another thing on the GM and Ron. But for me, it's the only one you want to keep there. If you're going to keep them, but for a mess with Fuller, he's still got another year on his deal, so you haven't got to cut him, you haven't got to restructure unless you want to, obviously. I think he's only 27. I thought he was like 30.
I know
he was
it's
that old.
Crazy.
He's so young considering like he's that slow. But for out of all them, the ones that you mentioned there is probably Holcomb, and even then only at the right price. I wouldn't be giving him like 10 million a year. He's not worth that kind of dollar. He's been proven that he's injury prone now as well, so he should be getting a lot less. But he's probably the only guy out the guys that Logan Thomas. Unfortunately, I think we got to cut him or restructure because it's nice to have him around and stuff like that. But he hasn't really produced, and it's bad because he had a bad injury. But he's just not at the level anymore. I don't think, which is a shame. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm looking here. Yeah, Wes Schweitzer, obviously, if he can come back on the right price.
Yeah, right.
As a guard, yes, I would take him as depth.
Exactly, he's a depth piece, not a first teamer. So before he was worth I think he was on 10 million a year per contract per year, and obviously his contract's run up now. But he's not worth. He's had loads of concussions as well. So for me, he's not worth 10 mil now. If you get him at say 6, then yeah, that's probably worthwhile keeping.
There's a
Again,
few
as a
other
guard,
there's a few others on here as well. We've got Cam Sims, we've got F.A. Obada, got Tyler Larson, Jonathan Williams, David Mayo, Kaliki Hudson, Nick Martin, Jeremy Reeves is a free agent as well.
oh, his contract's going to be high, being an All-Pro. Oh, that's gonna be a difference maker. Being All-Pro, you're gonna go, hey, I'm All-Pro now, bro. Come and pay me. So I'd keep him. Obviously, if you can keep him, at a reasonable rate. I don't know what his wages would be really.
So
a true special teamer.
last season he was $965,000, which is obviously
Well, it's gonna be more than that this year. Put that way from anybody.
I would think so.
Probably looking at probably 2 to 3 mil then, if that's the case, maybe.
Yeah. So for me, I would like to see him return. I'd like to see FA return. I'd like to see.
He's done a good job, FA. It's just certain mistakes. He's got to keep his game.
I'd like to see
all throughout the whole play. But yeah,
Kaliki Hudson, I'd like to see him return. And then it's really about Daron Payne and around the cap space that we've looked at. I mean, I had worked it out that if we cut Carson Wentz and with the cap going up to 226 million is what it's predicted to go up to, currently at 201. And that gives us 45 million on the cap space. We carried over 17. So we're about 60 mil thereabouts at the moment. You've obviously got to take off around about 12 million, 6 for your draft picks and 6 for contingency is normally what they work it at. If you lock at the seasons before, we've kind of always been around
so really
6
you've
mil.
got 45 basically around that kind of money,
about 45-ish, about 45 to 48.
Well, let's face it, Daron Payne's going to take
20.
18 and a half, I think, 18, 19.
Yeah.
I think the negotiations don't start until he's tagged, because I think he'll be tagged.
Do you think he'll be tagged and then try to make a new deal with him while he's being tagged?
That's the idea. But because let's face it, if you're the manager of him, if you're the agent, you're going to say, okay, then what's your offer? And if it's lowballed, you're going to say no. And then then obviously we'll go, well, we really want to keep him. So what we'll do, we'll tag him. Okay, that's 18.8 million, I think it is this year.
Yeah.
So now the contract starts there. See what I mean? So the negotiation starts there. So it's only going to be that level or huge guarantees and a bit less. See what I mean? But it's got to be around that. It's going to be around that level. It's going to be that John Allen money, if not even more than John Allen.
Yeah, and the only other issue you have there is anything like signing bonuses and things like that. They are paid out by the owner. They're not paid out against the cap. So they do go against the cap, but they go into an escrow account and then they're paid by the owner.
I mean, which is true. And obviously, with our sale, there's a chance that we won't get a big signing fees. But the thing is, I mean, Dan Snyder's not cash rich anyway. He's asset rich. He always has been. However, what I see it as is that if Dan's actually going to be reasonable, which I don't know because it's Dan, but he could do that, can still pay the bonuses and all the rest of it, and then add and tack that onto the actual final bill.
They can tack it onto the sale.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of being 7.5 billion, it'll be 7.7 billion. So because that 200 mil like they've spent on re-signing guys, as in like signing fees, signing bonuses, those types of things. So those things can be done, and it's legal to do that. So I'm not worried about that. To be fair, honestly, I'm not worried about that at this moment until we start seeing obviously Payne walking away. Then obviously I'll be a bit more fuming at that point. But no, not at the moment.
So do you see the sale happening then?
I'm unsure. Do we want it? Hell yeah! I think every single fan you'd ever meet wants this dude gone. Nobody's defending him. He's a genuine scumbag.
Yeah,
let's just get rid of him.
I think for me, the bit that got me was that the fact that I'd seen not just one beat reporter or one person on social media saying, "Oh, this has happened." It was several of them had said that their personal effects had been removed from their suite. Everything was boxed up. We've seen that he's now decided he's a resident in London. That he flew.
Yeah, that's tax purposes. That probably.
Yeah, of course it is. He flew his plane to London. The houses are for sale. From what we can see from the outside looking in, it looks like it is going to happen.
It looks legit, yeah, which is great if it happens. I just hope that this new owner comes in and is not just as bad as in like kind of person that he is, whoever it is that comes in. I don't want them to be dickheads. You know
We've
what
also, I do too. We've also got to talk about Sonny Jurgensen and the retirement of his jersey. From what I've seen and what I've heard, it was about time. The man was 88 years old, and let's be honest, we don't do this normally while they're alive. And I know that sounds quite harsh, but every day is a blessing when you're 88 years old, and that's not me trying to be rude, but to the man, obviously, one of our greats retired his jersey, and from what I've seen, the ceremony went well. There wasn't any hiccups. There wasn't any spellings. There was patches that were given out to people, to go away with.
I did see one Twitter person though. I did see Twitter person saying, "Man, you just used the same jersey, Sonny's jersey from the one that was framed on the wall inside the stadium."
And it was our old long snapper, Nick Sundberg, that put that out.
That's right. Yeah. And I was thinking, yeah, mate. But the thing is, the guy played in the fucking, when was it, 60s and 70s? Yeah. They're not going to have a fucking Spurs shirt just hanging around, are they, of him? You see what I mean? So, so you've got to get it from somewhere, and they've got one already in the building that's legit that you probably wore at some point.
You're not
going to get that. You're not going to get that in the flaming. Oh yeah, I'll just find that in the fucking recce store. You see what I mean? So I don't understand that. That's a ridiculous comment.
Just down the Dollar Tree. Yeah, I'll just go down the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, just found in a dollar store. No, mate, no. You don't get that. It's very hard to find these things, man. These things are 20, 30, 40 years old. Fucking hell.
I've just got it now.
Get a grip, Sundberg.
I've just got visions of Jason Wright floating around a dollar store trying to find a jersey.
You got it. You got a Sonny shirt? You got a Sonny shirt? No, mate.
No. But yeah, by all accounts, it went well, and well done for the Commanders for actually getting something right this season.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice little ceremony.
I did expect him to spell his name wrong and all sorts, but yeah, it didn't happen. So well done for them for doing that. Right, well, I think we've got a few questions from fans here. So Mike Allen's been on it as, again, really great listener, great interactor on Twitter. Thanks, Mike, for your questions. So one thing that he said here, he's got a few questions. The first one is, will the Commanders fan base now think Sam Howell is QB1? I think he could be, but he could also do with sitting for another year if we can bring in another QB1. I think we touched on that already, but
yeah, I agree with what he's saying. I don't. It's hard, man. It's hard because if you go for somebody, say you go for a Jimmy G, or you go for a Carr, a vet, a true vet who has been QB1 for other teams, are you going to bring him in to be QB1, or do you really want Hal to be the number one? So if you are, Jimmy G's not going to come here for a backup role. Now there's Carr. You see what I mean? So then you go, well, what do you do with that? And obviously, these guys have been proven that the bang average. Let's face it, the bang average QB1s, they're not that great. So for me, I'd rather go with the upside. Personally, I'd rather stick with Hal. Now, I'm not saying we definitely still need another quarterback because Heine can be gone, like you mentioned, and Wentz will be gone. So we definitely need a quarterback, but it's got to be, somebody that's going to be really happy to be
a QB2. Yeah,
who's happy to be a QB2 without causing any shit. That's basically
someone who can come in and learn. He can learn behind and learn to be a pro. Really, I think someone like a Teddy Bridgewater or Jacoby Brissett, that sort of player who can come
backup. He's a decent backup. I mean, he doesn't move the needle too much, but
no,
he's an able backup if things go wrong for a while. But yeah, it's hard because people go, well, why don't we just draft another one? But then you've got QB1 Howell. Say QB1 Howell. 1 year experience, QB2, brand new rookie, and it's unlikely we're going to end up getting the big boys, like the CJ Strouds and all these dudes. So you're taking a massive risk there, having zero experience in there, and then you got Jake Fromm, who's literally about 4 years. He's only been in the league about 2 to 3 years, and he's been on practice squads most of his career. So there's no real experience there. Now I understand getting a vet, but it's got to be at the right price, and it's got to be a guy who could do something a bit like a Heineke could. He could win you a game or two if needed at desperation.
Best position in the game, that holding the clipboard every week, and getting paid
QB3 is the best one, mate.
Maybe scout team, scout team. Yeah. I hope that's answers your question, Mike, and thank you again for that.
I hope not.
Mike's second question says, "Are you like me, deeply disappointed that deeply disappointed that as a fan base, we didn't give Scott Turner more of a chance and understand better his fantastic play calling that could have taken us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I saw that when I was like, mate, you are crazy, bro. I know you're being sarcastic, but that's just like with ridiculous call, that one there, mate. Yeah, funny though. And oh, mate, he's had 3 years. He should have been gone after 3 months. Honestly, that's how bad the dude is. So
would you?
He's had plenty of time.
would you invest? Would you invest every last penny then into the O line and pay Payne, try and get a deal done with Cam Curl during the off season as well? I think that's where we need to spend our money and
we need more depth. Line. Use the money for solid depth pieces. I don't mean these random dudes like, oh, got this guy off the street. I'm talking a proper dude. Forget these boss
Mr. Potato Head
and Potato and all the rest of them. He had a good game, but
he did. He was all right.
Yeah, he had a good game, but at the end of the day, these guys, there's a reason why they're not first choices, and it's because they're inconsistent. That's the thing. On their day, they're still good players because at the end of the day, they're NFL players.
Yeah, I know.
But they are not elite enough to, or even just be good enough to be consistently, like, say, a 7 out of 10 every week. And that's what you need. So that's where the kind of depth pieces that we need at linebacker, we need that corner. We needed a quarterback. We definitely need it on the O-line. There's a lot of gaps we still got to fill, man. So I'd rather go take the risk with the Howell thing, because he's there cheap with a quarterback who could do something if we really had to pull him out the game. But I'm not going for Carr. I'm not going for the big names.
So we've touched on it, and we'll touch on it probably next week. Do you think this is a lame duck coaching staff setup now? Do you think Ron's on his bike at the end of next season?
He's definitely on the hot seat, 100% on the hot seat now. Before he wouldn't have been. Last year I kept saying, no, he's not on the hot seat. There's no need. There really, even though he wasn't doing very good, just bang average, like what his record normally is, that was career, is normally 500 or around that area. But this year, he's definitely on the hot seat this time around. He's got to prove to not just himself and the players, but the new owners, the new possible owners. Because don't forget, there's going to be 5 or 6 people who are really interested in buying it. They're watching every game.
Yeah,
they're watching what Ron's doing.
They're watching what the investment is as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's the players in the field like? How good are these dudes? How much money have I really got to spend? Not just to buy the club, but to actually, sort out everything else that goes on, like a new stadium and more money for how much money in signing fees have I got to have in my pocket? You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? We talked about this before, but it's not just maybe a 7.5, 8 billion purchase.
Oh no,
it's 10 plus. Bill. Yeah. Because you've got to buy that stadium. You know what I mean? Or you've got to release FedEx Field and completely do it up and rip it apart and start again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much it would cost to play Baltimore for a season while we build a new stadium. But that'd be quite expensive, wouldn't it?
I think so, but what
their
do you
pitch
do?
Be destroyed.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because the weather's not great there, let's face it, But that'd be something that might be a possibility that they might have to do if they're going to knock down FedEx and start again on that site. So yeah, it's hard for me. I want it in DC. I want it where it was the old stadium was. I want it there. I don't care what you got to do, if it's Bezos or whoever it is who comes in. Bribe the dudes, whatever it is you got to do to actually get this done, because you need to get the stadium back in DC. End of story. The name's Washington. It's Washington for a reason. It's not fucking Maryland Commanders, is it? You know what I mean? So yeah, or Landover fucking Commanders. No, it's not.
It isn't. So this brings us on to then the best segment of the week for me. Yeah. It is hotter than a knife through butter. It is Scouse's Sizzle.
Well, normally I'd pick it, as you know, my usual. I'd always pick Scott Turner. And he did let us down a little bit again by actually calling too many run plays. I wanted to see Howell throw 40 times. I wanted to see how good he was actually throwing that amount of times, how in every single kind of style of throw. That's what you want to do. You want to see everything that the dude's got. And we only saw I reckon, about 60-70% of what he actually is. So, one, him. Second one, Joey goddamn Slye. What is he doing, bro? He misses so many easy kicks. It's unreal. And then he nails like the 52-yarder or something. He's just so inconsistent. You need a kicker who can actually handle the pressure, man. and he can't. He can't, man. He needs to go. And he mentioned that his contract's up. Yeah, let him go. Let him go. Let's just find another kicker, man. Because Slye, you're just not good enough, bro. You haven't got the fucking cojones.
7 points missed, wasn't it? 7 points.
Yeah. It was an extra point and 2 field goals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what he missed. And how many times he missed all season? He's missed loads. And it's always like wide left. Like he's got plenty of leg. And it's not even like, wait there a minute. What are you actually doing? These are simple ones. These are like 35 yarders. Like even I could probably ping it through a 35 yarder. You know?
And then he's clutching up away at the Eagles on a 58-yard attempt. And you're
like, that's what I'm saying. Like he's so inconsistent. It's unreal. You don't. I mean, he was great against the Eagles. He nailed everything in sight. Why can't he do it every week? It's mentally, it's in his head. It's in his own head, which means to me he's not good enough because he's mentally not good enough. If that makes sense, he's got the leg. He can boom it, sure, but his mentality is just not right. Now every time he misses one, he goes, "Oh, I was too pumped up. Well, you need to know to relax, then, bro. Do you see what I mean? And he always hasn't found a way of doing that. He's been playing NFL for fucking how long? You know what I mean? 8 years, whatever it is that he's been in the league. Come on,
get
bro.
some whale music on.
yeah. Put that in his earphones or even in his helmet while he's waiting to kick the ball. Yeah, let him buddy relax because honestly, man, we're a team that needs a kicker who makes 9 out of 10. You can't. We're not a team that's like who bangs 40 in every game on offense, so we can afford to miss kicks. We're just not one of those teams. We never have been. We haven't been that for a long time. You know, we even go back to history of kickers with Mark Mosley. Mm-hmm. He was our MVP. He was the MVP of the whole bloody league 1 year. I think he missed 1, but he had like 18 out of 17, something like that. 17 out of 18, something like that. And he got MVP.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, when you add them on to that score, it's a 33-6 win, which is just
and that's the first time second time with the nail 30 points over 30 points in the game. The other one was against Philly as well. You know, who are probably the favourites for it all, even though I'd probably say the Niners are, but they're as in like from the NFC, that is. But yeah, I mean, this is what pisses me off about our team.
It's the inconsistencies.
We can beat the big boys. We can beat the Dallases. We can beat the Eagles in their own backyard. But then we get destroyed by Cleveland. We lose to Tennessee. You know, all these Detroit, even though they put points up, but at that time they were shite. You know, it's just infuriating. Do you know what I mean? It really is infuriating.
The ups and downs of being a Washington Commanders fan.
Oh, mate, it's painful, man. It's painful. It's painful being a Commanders fan, skin Tommy, you want to call us. You know, it really is. And I salute everybody who still is a fan because it's so easy just to go somewhere else. But most people are diehards, and they are. The ones who are still left are diehards because at the end of the day, we've put up with it for fucking 20, 30 years of absolute shite with 1 or 2 good seasons sprinkled in. And even then, good season for us is like making the playoffs. We're just bang average for somebody else, like a Green Bay or the Bills at the moment, the last 5 years, or KC. They're like, oh, that's the bare minimum we should be in, and they always are in. Because we're like, oh, we're buzzing if we can make the playoffs, and then if we get 1 win in there, that's like an unbelievable season for us. That's how bad the standards drop for us because we are just been that bad for so long.
It's crazy, isn't it? It really is crazy.
So painful, man. We spend a fortune going to see them as well.
I know.
Everybody does, you know.
It's not. It's one of them where if you make that trip, you know, you stay in, you're there for the full weekend. You probably at the latest coming in on Friday. The game's on the Sunday. You're leaving Monday morning, so you've got, you know, you took time off work. You've lost wages. You then paying.
I see dudes flying from the other side of America. You know, people in California, they're flying over the game.
Look at Tim Meek.
Like performances. Timmy goes all around the place, doesn't he?
Every single week.
You know, yeah, he's mostly at home, and then he goes to some away games as well.
He's the most positive dude I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. To a fault sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Bless him.
But yeah, I mean,
shout out Tim.
Not like he listens to us anyway, but
I know. But even so. So we'll move on then to our final segment. Then normally we would call this the game of the week. We're just going to really touch on the wildcard weekend playoffs, really. So we're not going to go into massive detail of this, but we'll do our picks and who we think is going to win out of these games. So the first one on the ticket then is 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks, who just snuck in thanks to a Detroit Lions win at Green Bay.
I can't believe that. I can't believe Detroit turned up. I thought they would have just went, nah, forget it.
Because
that's how good their coach is, mate. That's how good their coach is. No, Dan Campbell. Get him over here, head coach, if he wants to come over. Tell you, I love him. He's quality.
Been buying some kneecaps off over here, yeah.
Yeah. This guy knows what he's doing, man. He's got them playing, and they're going to be dangerous next year. Detroit, I'm telling you now.
Going to be a good side, very good side, especially when they can pick early in the draft
points
as well.
Got, the points they put on the board most of the time, and they got a bang average quarterback like Goff. That's how good Dan Campbell is, mate. That shows that keeps them motivated, even though they missed out on players. They could have easily just down tools. No point in getting injured for this game. No point in really playing. We could get a better draft pick if we lose. Blah blah blah. No, you got them working. You got them on the ball. You got them motivated, and they won the game in Green Bay, which I was well impressed with because I thought Green Bay would have won that. So I love Dan Campbell. So to get to your question, against the Seahawks, for me, it's got to be the Niners. I mean, it's an in-division game, so form technically goes out the window normally in these games, just like it does with us with Philly and all the rest of it. But I still think the Niners are at home, and they are the better team, and I think they will win the game. It'll be tighter than what you think, but I still think they win by at least 7 to 9, something like that.
Debo back as well for the Niners, so exactly. It's looking
getting better for them, and it's just getting better.
It's looking good. The one I'm most interested in on Saturday night, moving into Sunday morning for us, I think is a 1:15 kickoff. Is the Jags versus the Chargers.
Now,
I'm really looking forward to this game. Actually,
you're gonna watch it?
I am. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
I mean, it's Saturday for us, so it's not too bad, but technically Sunday, but. This one's going to be interesting because the Chargers' offense is still elite. But that Jags defense, man, at the moment is playing on absolute lights out. And that's gonna be an interesting game. I reckon that'll be a lower scoring game again than what you think.
It's in Jacksonville as well.
Exactly. I think the Jags take it. I do. I think the Jags take it.
Yeah, I'm backing the Jags for that one as well.
They're peaking at the right time, and the peaking at the right time. The defense looks absolutely on fire, and
Trevor Lawrence has been really good over the last six weeks. Justin Herbert's been his usual self. They had a rocky start to the season, broken ribs.
Well, his whole line lets him down, doesn't it? Really, that's the problem with him.
Mike Williams was carted off the field on the last game for the Chargers, and he needed help. He needed help getting on the bus.
Oh,
so
he's been struggling with a high ankle sprain all year. He's been in and out the team for all season. So
that's a key weapon gone there. It's a key weapon.
Keenan Allen's quality, and so is Eckler. So you've still got quality players. You've still got quality dudes there, but the offensive line's not as good, and the defense is not as good. They do leak points, and especially if, as you mentioned before, Lawrence has been on fire the last kind of month to 6 weeks. If he can play anywhere near that, I think they'll be good enough. I think they'll win. But again, all these playoff games are going to be tight. There's going to be no blowouts.
They are, yeah.
There's going to be no blowouts, so forget that.
Well, I don't know. There's maybe one or two there.
Nah, I don't think so. Not on this round, anyway.
The Bills versus the Dolphins is the first Sunday game. Dolphins only just snuck into the playoffs. It was a wild win. I think it was 11-6. I think in the end it finished to Miami.
Yeah. I mean, is Tua going to be back or not? That's the question with that one.
I don't know is the answer on that one. I really don't know.
If that other guy, Skylar Thompson's playing, they're going to get battered. So because
he's not a good
quarterback,
and this is the one I think. Though, this is the one I think is going to be the blowout.
I think. It depends. It depends who's playing. If Tua's playing and he's got all these guys who are reasonably fit, they'll have a much better chance. I mean, it'll be a shootout. Do you know what I mean? Because the Bills will put points up, they always do. But if it's that Thompson guy playing, it's all over. I mean, I suppose it will be a blowout to me. Maybe I'm totally wrong in what I'm saying. But playoff games, though, it's very rare that you see major blowouts. So for me, it's still Bills for me. But
still Bills, yeah.
It's still Bills. But if Tua's playing, it'll be a lot closer than you think.
Next one we've got then is the Vikings versus the Giants.
Now this one's interesting. This one's interesting because
we should have been there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should have been there. But also, when we wanted to play the Vikings, didn't we? At the end of the day, we wanted to play the Vikings. But the Giants play similar games to we do, and we nearly beat them. We were like, we basically fucked it up ourselves. They didn't beat us. We lost it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that. they played the same way as we do. They've got a quarterback who's mobile, who throws it even there a little bit, hasn't got a great arm, those type of things. Then you've got Saquon. You've got a strong offense. They've got a better offensive line than we do. I think the Giants are going to win that.
So do I.
I do. I think they're going to win it. Minnesota was so up and down. 1 minute they're like brilliant. The next minute they get battered. Like I think Dallas put 50 on them, didn't they?
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago, something like that. So for me, even though they're at home, I still think Giants are just going to go in, just going to run the ball. They're going to use Danny Dimes' legs, and they're going to get it done. They're going to get
the other thing as well is neither Jones nor Barkley played last week. Rested them.
So you rested them. Yeah, because again, you didn't need them because they're already guaranteed their sixth place.
Yeah.
So succeed. Sorry. So yes, a lot of their players didn't play. A lot of their first teamers didn't play because a lot of them probably are banged up. Week 18, most players are going to be banged up, aren't they? Let's face it. So they're a bit fresher. Minnesota, nah, mate, they're massively overrated. And I think the Giants taken by at least 10.
Oof, big score there then.
Big score.
I would say the Giants by 3-6 is where I'm going because you can't discount Justin Jefferson. He just could come up with a magic play.
Yeah, he is an unbelievable receiver, but it's just kind of like who's he got thrown to him? He's got Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Next one then, against us.
Next one then, late night into Monday morning is the Bengals versus the Ravens. No coin toss required. Yeah, that's caused a bit of a stir this week. But yeah, Bengals Ravens. Then it's in Cincinnati as well.
Yeah, for me, even if it was in Baltimore, I still think it would be the Bengals wins this one. The team's just too good, and also you haven't got Lamar's not going to be playing.
Well, is he? We don't know. We haven't seen whether he is or isn't.
What I've read about it is that he doesn't actually. Even though he might be, technically, you could say, he could play, but he won't play because of his contract situation. So he's just making that knee linger a little bit. Oh yeah, still not right, even though it probably is. Do you know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to get hurt. At the end of the day, why would you want to get hurt?
He's technically a free agent, isn't he?
He would be. Yeah, he would be after the season's over. He would be free agent, and he wants his 50 mil. So let's face it, if he goes to that game and gets hurt, he's getting like half that at best. So as in like a badder injury, a worse injury. So there's no chance he's going to play in that game. Huntley's been dealing with some sort of concussion as well, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it's been a guy. I can't remember who the third quarterback is.
I think his name's Brown. I think it's
Brown. That's right, Brown. Yeah,
and he obviously he's a third stringer for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So for me, if that guy, even if Huntley plays, I still think Bengals have got too much for them.
Yeah,
they haven't got much. Ravens. They really haven't got a lot. Offense. It's normally the quarterback that runs a lot. You've got a decent running back, but he's still feeling his way back. In Dobbins.
Mark Andrews, the tight end, is a good tight end.
He's a good tight end. Yeah. Wide receivers, you've got Devin Duvernay. I mean, do you know what I mean? These guys are bang average at best. So, yeah, for me, it's just Jamar. It's going to be a Jamar Chase day. That one.
It is.
At least 2 touchdowns minimum. He's so good.
And then the final game of what is Monday Night Football into Tuesday morning for us, Bucks versus the Cowboys.
Well,
Brady is 7-0 against the Cowboys, by the way.
And he's at home. And I'm taking the Bucks.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the Cowboys, as we've proven, the shit. They're not a very good team. Where was this amazing Micah Parsons against us, against the rookie QB? There's nowhere to be seen. I think he got like half a sack or 1 sack, which is not like, the first game he hammered us. Do you know what I mean? So this time around, where was he? Nowhere to be seen. Shows though, these guys are gassed. They're done. Mentality, they're gone. We put the final nail in there because they're walking in there going, yeah, we're just going to play we're going to play our first team for the first half. We're going to get really sharp on offense, blah, 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 blah. Realize that they're absolutely dog shit. And then like, they go, shit. So
4
now
minutes
we're
to
going
go
to play the whole game.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go before they pulled Dak. Yeah.
Yeah. See what I mean? So, and because he wanted them to obviously get a bit of confidence, you see, to start throwing some touchdowns and all the rest, and he didn't because we just dominated them. The Bucks, you probably say, even though they're not a very good side, they're probably slightly better than us. They've got some skill players there still. Still pretty reasonably solid on offense, defense as well. No, they've still got Devin White and the linebackers are really good.
Mike Evans is a great player.
Yeah, quality wide receiver. You've got Godwin. You've got loads of dudes there, mate.
Leonard Fournette turns up in the playoffs, doesn't he?
Leonard Fournette, even that White's been doing well the last few weeks as well. Running back, so.
And you can't count out Tom Brady, can you? You just can't do that.
I mean, he's old, but he end of the day he does just enough, doesn't he? Do you see what I mean? He's not blowing teams away anymore, but he's still doing enough. He's doing just enough.
98% strike rate on QB sneak.
Really?
Yeah. Really? Yep, he's so good.
How many has he done? One.
It's normally one a season, one a game, to be fair.
Wow.
But yeah, he's got a really high. He's probably one of the only quarterbacks I've ever seen who's so good at the quarterback sneak, just straight through. So that wraps us up then, really, for this. We're not going away in the off season. We're going to hang around. I think next week we'll probably do a bit of a deep dive into the season, what our thoughts were. Positional, we'll break it down position by position, give ourselves a bit of a grade on it, maybe A's to F's, and we'll go through the grading on what we thought the players were, what we thought of the 53. We'll include coaching in that next week, and hopefully over the summer we'll have some friends on who we can let us know, and the listeners know their story and how they became Commanders fans. And if there's anything that you want us to talk about during the off season, which I'm sure there will be lots to talk about, some podcasts have stopped the mic rolling and have said, no, we're going to stop. We're going to continue on. And thank you again for choosing to watch us and choosing to download us on the podcast app. It's going from strength to strength. We've only been doing this a few weeks now, really, Scouse, and it's going from strength to strength. So thank you for your support. We're going to be around most of the summer. I really enjoyed this time chopping it up with Scouse. It's been fantastic since we started doing this podcast. So really, thanks to you for the season as well, mate. Since we started going,
man.
Appreciate it, buddy.
It's been good. It's been good to get to know you over the year, and and we didn't really know each other until when?
We didn't.
Probably this time last year, probably, wasn't it? Something similar.
I think so. I think it was just before the draft party, a couple of weeks before. Yeah, it was
something like that.
I think it was about a year. This time last year, we went down to see Burrows, so never met each other. Obviously, spoke through social media. We know that we're only a few hours away from each other down the west coast. But it's been good. It's been a really good year. You had to sit next to me on a plane for 8 hours each way.
That was painful. That was like Tennessee Titans painful. That was blowing it right at the end. That.
And I'm hoping to hop on another one with you soon. We'll get that done.
I'm moving seats.
Club class. See you later. I'm off. Yeah, but no. Realistically, I think for all those who do listen to us in the States, we're probably going to be out. The first home opener, I think, is what we're probably planning to do. I know some of the boys in the chat are looking to go maybe later in the season as well, but obviously I'll have to convince the boss whether I can get away for the week. It is hard when you're married. Scouse is hard work, mate. Yeah, you know what I mean.
You're not wrong, bro. You're not wrong.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Well, thanks very much for listening, and thanks for persevering with us. Scouse is obviously off to go and get himself a beer because Scott Turner's been fired. We'll see what happens.
Still half
with
drunk
this.
now, mate. Still half drunk now.
We'll catch you next Thursday. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Bye.